I run a small side hustle selling digital products, and Pinterest is one of the main channels I use to bring in traffic. The problem is creating consistent content for Pinterest can take a lot of time. So I decided to automate the entire content creation process, and I'm going to show you the system I built to generate Pinterest content automatically and save hours of work. So overall the workflow looks like this. It starts with a schedule trigger that runs the workflow at specific times of the day, and it's configured like this. I have specified specific times of the day inside it for it to run at that exact times. Next comes my Airtable node, which I use for getting single row of data from my Airtable. If we take a look inside, its configuration is like this. It uses search operation to return data from the table. And next I have added a filter formula like this one. Using this formula enables the workflow to always return the next row in the table. And plus, when it reaches the bottom of the table or queue, it reiterates over all data again when there is no new data in the table. And I have limited data retrieval to 1 to always return one row at a time when the workflow gets triggered. And that's everything about this node. So let's move to the next one. Next is this research agent node. What it does is making research about product's topic. So I feed it with product name and image description, which come from this Airtable node, and system messages like this one. What it basically does is I have written its task, the rules it must follow for the content, and the output format. And if we move on, for making research, by the way, I'm using this Tavily tool, which is in this configuration. And if we move on, oh, by the way, I want to show you my Airtable structure too. The table looks like this. I have product name column, image description column, and last processed column. The workflow decides which row to fetch based on this column. And I'm using another side workflow to populate this table easily. Let me show you that one too. The workflow is this one, but let me show you how it works at the end of the video, because I don't want to mix things up. So let's move to the next node, which is Content Creator AI Agent. It's creating content for Pin based on the research data that comes from this one. If we take a look inside of this one too, the user message is the output of the previous node, and system message is, let me show you by opening it. Again, I'm giving it the rules, content rules, and how pin title and description gonna be, infographic structure, and prompt rules for the image that it will create, and which also be the background image for the infographic pin, and output requirements, output format, let's say. The main reason me putting output requirements here in the system message instead of here in the require specific output format tool is mainly because when I do that, because of some reason, it consistently kept giving an error which said the output does not fit the required format. So then I changed the configuration and put the output format directly inside the system message and removed this toggle. Then it suddenly started working properly every time. Since then, I had no issue with this AI agent node. So basically that's it about this node 2. And let's move on to the next node, which is this code node. The role of this code node is essentially checking AI agent's output. If the output that comes from this AI agent is not correct, then this code node immediately corrects it. What I mean by not correct, sometimes it can give the output inside backticks or in markdown format or as a string. If the output is one of them, this code node corrects it. If output is already in the required format, then this one lets it pass through and head toward the first HTTP request node in the workflow, which creates infographic background based on the prompt that comes from the content creator agent from this one. Before moving on to HTTP node, I want to show you the code inside the code node 2. The whole code is like this. First, we try to read the output, and in the first scenario, the output is in required perfect format. We do nothing and returning the output as is. In the second scenario, the output is wrapped inside strings, and we try to clean it and return the cleaned data here. So let's move to the next node, the HTTP one. And here, this one is used for background image generation using the image prompt comes from AI agent node we talked about previously. For image generation, I used Pollinations.ai, and this is the URL I used for it. And the configuration here is pretty much like this. So it gives the image here. Let's see what image looks like this. And the next node is extract file node. I've used this one to turn the created image into a base64 format. This created the image and sent to this one, and this turns it into this format to be able to use inside this HTML template, actually in the CSS, inside the CSS property. So it looks like this, its configuration looks like this. I have selected this move file to base64 string, and keep source I have chosen JSON to keep this JSON data to, and it turns the image data into something like this. Then next we have this code node, and inside it I have an HTML template like this. This part is HTML template itself, and the inside style tag is CSS, and that base64 format gonna be used here to insert the background image into this property. And next we have this one more HTTP request node. This one is to turn the HTML template into real screenshot, let's say, using ScreenshotOne API. And method is post, and body content is like this. I'm sending HTML like this, and width height is specified standard pin sizes, image quality, format, etc. And in the end, it looks just like this. And then we have a node like this one again, and what it does is turning that created HTML image into base64 again to be able to send it to Pinterest. Next comes the last HTTP request node, which handles sending the final picture image to the Pinterest. And it's again post request, and URL is like this. And actually I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna make this sandbox to just API pinterest.com, since I have already taken the access to standard API. And next, I'm using generic credential type, my Pinterest credentials, which I have already done before. And then in the body content, I'm sending this information, this data, board ID, title description, and these image related data. By the way, to get board ID, what you do is you just use a separate HTTP request node, and it is gonna be with get method. URL gonna be like this, boards instead of pins here. And in the credentials, you wanna use the URL like without sandbox here too, because when you request data of boards on Pinterest, if you use sandbox here, you will get error. It must be without sandbox here and here too. And you get all the board data of your account. The last one is an Airtable node again, but with update operation. It timestamps the currently processed row in Airtable as last processed once the workflow finishes execution. And let's take a look inside. So it uses ID to match and updates it as last processed using this now method on the calendar for each workflow. Now I can talk about the other side workflow I mentioned earlier. So this one flows like this. It starts with a Google Drive trigger, which listens for specific changes in the specific folder in Google Drive, in my Google Drive, which is digital products folder. The next is another Google Drive node with search operation, which fetches all digital product folders with search operation and loops through all of them. Next, we have again another Google Drive node which fetches each file from each folder after this loop. Next, I have used edit fields node to specify parent folder for each file to distinguish which folder it belongs to. And next comes filter node. This one's role is filtering only PDF files among all the other files, because there are image files too. Next, we have another Google Drive node with download operation, which downloads each PDF file to feed them to AI agent. And AI agent's only role is analyzing product names that comes from these nodes, and also analyze the PDF files to decide about image description along with product names. And lastly, we have again an Airtable node with create operation, and it creates the row for the product name and image description data that comes from this AI agent node. And that's it about this workflow too. Let me show you the other main workflow while working too. So as you see, it created the pin and sent it to Pinterest, and let's see it on my Pinterest account. This is the exact pin the workflow created and sent to my secret board to later publish it to one of my public boards with its title and description and background. So that was all about both of my workflows, and thank you for watching. See you on the next one.